But I know as I go through this life that this earth ain't my home. I wanna go home, I wanna go home cause I...
Hey guys, I do a lot of talking on this channel about sharing God's love, sharing your testimony, talking about God to others, but I wanted to acknowledge something. I wanted to acknowledge that it's hard. It's really hard to have some conversations with people because in general, Christianity isn't really perceived too well. People don't really want to talk about religion too much. And of course, you've heard so many things that Christianity isn't a religion, it's a relationship. And yeah, I totally agree. But to the outside world, it doesn't appear that they think that. It's a religion. It's this blindly accepting of some sort of value. And it's really hard to have a conversation with them because you think, they're going to oppose me, they're going to mock me, they're going to think something of me that's not good, right? But what if I told you that this exact struggle is in the Bible? You think, well, yeah, obviously, but think about it. Because all the Bible stories that we read is so well accepted. You have the disciples preaching, and there's so many people coming to Christ by their words, thousands, hundreds, right? With every speech, you think, man, it must be so easy for them, but I couldn't do that. Because we live in a different kind of culture, a different society. People don't think too highly of this message. Maybe people don't think too highly of me because I'm a Christian. See, so many people have heard the story of the Samaritan woman at the well where Jesus comes up and says, can I have a drink of water? And they kind of talk, and then eventually Jesus is like, go home to your husband. She's like, I don't have a husband. And he's like, yeah, that's right. You've had like 5 husbands, 4 or 5, and the dude you're living with is not your husband. Like, he absolutely exposes her. But that's kind of this part of the story that we focus on. Today, I wanted to focus on a few verses that follow. Many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. He told me everything I ever did. So when the Samaritans came to him, they urged him to stay with them, and he stayed 2 days. And because of his words, many more became believers. They said to the woman, we no longer believe just because of what you said. Now we have heard for ourselves, and we know this man really is the Savior of the world. If you want to talk about a hard conversation, this would be a really difficult one. A Samaritan talking to a Jew. Now, of course, maybe you don't know, maybe you've heard a little bit about it, but in case you didn't know, the Samaritans didn't really like the Jews too much. There was a lot of disdain towards these two groups, and if a Jew was talking, a Samaritan would be inclined to not listen. And so when this woman, I want you to imagine her situation. This woman runs into a town of Samaritan and says, I just saw this Jew, this person that we don't like. I just saw him and I believe that he's the Savior of the world. How do you think that would have been accepted? What do you think that people would have told? Well, many of the Samaritans from that town believed in him because of the woman's testimony. See, what we don't realize is that maybe sharing our testimony won't get us mocked, get us looked down upon. See, so many times we assume the worst is going to happen. Like, if I talk about God, they're going to mock me. If I talk about God, they're going to think I'm dumb or something. But guess what? This woman was talking about a Jew, the kind of people that they don't like. And she was saying, this man is really something. This man is the Savior of the world. And they believed her. Let's put it in modern day context. This woman had so much bravery, and if we have that same bravery, what would we do with it? If we didn't fear the consequences of sharing God, how much would we share about him? How much would we share our testimony, how God has impacted our lives? Because I want to tell you guys something. Everyone has struggles, but I've had so many points in my life where God has helped me get through them. And if I'm ever talking to someone that doesn't believe in God, I'll say, you know what? I was going through a hard time. Life was tough. But guess what got me through it? God. Because Christianity is different. It's not a bunch of laws that you have to follow. It's a God who loves you and died even though we're a sinner, even though we're full of sin and living in darkness. He died so that we could have light and so that we could be in fellowship and communion with him. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the message that we want to preach. Like this Samaritan woman going into a crowd of people who didn't like the Jews. Maybe we can go into a crowd of people who we don't think we're going to be perceived well by. We can still have the courage and the bravery to say God is a God who loves you, because everyone needs love. The world right now is so dark. There's so much hate, negativity, this positive mindset, this God who loves you infinitely no matter what you've done. No one has ever heard of it, but they want it. They want it. They don't even know that they want it. Jared, what if you're wrong? What if you're wrong? What if I try to go out, share my testimony, and it's not perceived well? I have experience in that area. What if I go out and share my testimony and I don't see anyone converting to Christ? Well, I have this YouTube channel. It's called iGen Ministries. I've done about 60 videos. And I don't get too many views. I don't get too many comments. But you know what my mindset is? I say, God, use me. Use my words. Use my videos. Speak through me to impact someone. And because it's done through a screen, I don't know if it's done anything. But I trust and I have faith that God can still use these videos. Now, of course, my situation's different. It's not hard to stand in front of a camera and preach this, teach this, tell you guys. But the same trust and faith that I have when making these videos can be used by you too. If you say, God, use me, use my words, my testimony, show these people your love. That's what we want to do. Maybe we won't see any progress. Maybe we won't see any change. But we got to trust that God can do something with an open heart. And I trust that in a world of darkness, if people are shown what the light really looks like, because there's so much false perception around it, but if we show them what Christianity really is, how much our God really loves us, that's a message that they're going to want to cling to. And if we don't see progress, we don't see change, know that God is going to work in them. Pray so that God can use your words and then change their lives from the inside. Maybe we don't see it, but we need to have faith that God's going to do something if we live for Him. We need to have faith that God brings change even if we can't see it. Do you doubt that? Or are you going to go out there and do something? Peace.